Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar this morning on how to monitor and optimize remote work with Lakeside SysTrack. My name is Timothy Carl. I'm a principal architect here at Gotham. On this call, we also have Michael Broadwood and Charles Owens from Lakeside. Guys, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, glad to be
joining.
Appreciate you taking the time today, everyone.
Lakeside has been a partner here at Gotham for a very long time. For those of you that don't know what Lakeside SysTrack is, it is a digital experience monitoring solution that helps reduce IT costs and improve user experience. It captures over 10,000 data points every 15 seconds from endpoints, giving you great visibility on what is going on in your environment. It's been a very valuable tool here at Gotham. With Gotham, many of our customers, our services team uses it for many of our engagements, whether it's desktop transformation projects, moving to Windows 10, doing physical to VDI deployments, or even doing NVIDIA grid sizing exercises. We also use it for a lot of Citrix health checks and assessments, and even as part of our SysTrack as a service, one of our managed service offerings for end user analytics. But as you know, over the last few weeks, we have many of our customers with their work from home initiatives, whether it's expanding their current environments for Citrix into the cloud or on-prem, or standing up brand new environments for Windows 10. Also providing monitoring and support and remote administration to our customers' environments to help them make sure that their remote workforce can work smoothly. And one of the ways we've been doing this is using SysTrack to really help with remote work planning and performance monitoring. And it's something that we can get up and running for our customers very quickly on their physical and virtual endpoints, and even install it on their users' home PCs. Really give you great insight into what your remote workforce looks like. So to learn more about what this offering is and how you can leverage it, I will hand it over to Michael and Charles.
Perfect. Thanks again. Well, first of all, I hope everyone is as safe and as sane as possible. This is a particularly challenging time at the moment, and it all, as Tim was mentioning, has all happened pretty quickly. It certainly did escalate, and everyone found themselves a bit on the back foot, really, with not really having enough time to plan such a rapid increase of the remote workers. Getting as many many of their workers to start remoting in is a challenge at best of times. So a lot of customers, a lot of organizations found themselves kind of doing more of the same. Increasing their remote sessions or doing what they could, I suppose, in such a short amount of time. So here at Lakeside, we came together to see kind of what we could do to help our kind of friends in the industry. And as Tim was mentioning, we collect data and we turn that data into kind of insight. We turn that data into kind of actionable information. So we wanted to build something that our customers and our friends in the field can actually use to provide the visibility necessary to monitor and support and to optimize as much as possible what is out there. So Charles is going to take us through a demonstration of the kits that we put together. But just quickly, for those who don't know who Lakeside is, we've been doing this for decades. We've got thousands of customers around the world, and we basically this is all we do, really. We quantify and improve the user experience. So what we are looking to do really is really understand how your users are currently interacting with the resources they have available right now. Okay, they're coming in remotely. What applications are those users utilizing? Are those applications having any issues with any back-end dependencies? Are there any latency issues? Just giving you a central point of visibility across your entire estate to really help answer these questions. So we put together 3 parts to this plan. Okay, so what we're offering is access to SysTrack right now. Okay, if you're an existing customer, that's fantastic. We can provide you with the dashboards, the custom dashboards that we put together for this that you can implement and get going to provide the relevant visibility for your existing environment. If you are not an existing user, it is very, very fast to get set up. We'll provide you free access to our SysTrack solution hosted in Azure. In terms of effort involved, it is very limited. There's no data center infrastructure necessary, so you don't have to worry about that. In terms of speed to set up, we're talking about minutes. And in regards to kind of scalability, I mean, we can kind of push this out to 50,000 users or 100,000 users if necessary until this kind of crisis is over. In regards to training, Gotham is here to help. We are here to help, but this is out of the box solution. So it works with endpoints that aren't necessarily doesn't have to be domain joined either. So again, we're trying to put a solution together that will do most good. So first of all, we want to be able to help you kind of plan. I'm laughing just because no one had time to plan, but this is a very, very helpful tool to kind of realign the relevant kind of expectations you put forward a couple of weeks ago. We can also provide data to help support your remote users and also provide kind of the relevant kind of analysis for your remote sessions as well, if that's, Citrix, VMware, WVD, the work. So again, all these solutions kind of work together on an as needed basis. So if you're looking to just make a plan, understand kind of how people are being utilized today, we can do that. Okay, there are a ton of questions out there which your bosses are asking you, you're asking of your users. It is kind of, what devices and applications are essential for my employees to do their job? Do they have what they need, or do they need some additional support? Okay, are there, in regards to critical applications, and I'm talking about critical applications here. I'm not talking about the 85 applications that your users might be using on an ad hoc basis, but the applications where they spend 90% of their time, which are critical for them to be productive as possible. So how are those applications performing? Are there any applications that we need to be aware of that have, a particularly high kind of network traffic, etc.? So we put together a report for you to be able to run this. If you're an existing customer, you can run this now. If you're a net new customer and we're just rolling out the agents, then this might take you just a couple of days really to gather the data necessary to populate this plan. But what you'll do is you'll break everything down by user count on OS, system types. It will give you a breakdown of people who are ready to go now, like go home now, that's absolutely fine. It'll give you kind of critical application dependencies, high network traffic, resource and device usage. The works really just to help you. But I'm sure you were asking kind of, okay, great, that would have been fantastic last month. How about now? My users are home. How do we support them? How do we get the relevant visibility to ensure that they're able to be productive, they are being productive, and if there's any kind of roadblocks to a kind of a decent user experience? So there are still a ton of questions that are needed to be answered, but the question's just slightly different. It's can my users connect? If they can connect, fantastic. Are there any bottlenecks? If so, where are they? Is the VPN doing okay? Is it starting to strain under the pressure? Is it starting to get oversaturated? My users connecting in, is it secure? Is it even safe to do this now? Is there something we need to kind of act on right away towards, my application usage? Are my communication tools up to the challenge? Where are my users even? Now I've distributed them into the wind. User experience is a critical component of SysTrack. We think that it is the most important metric you should be measuring within your IT infrastructure. It is how are the resources that my users have affecting their productivity. To again, it's if there is an issue, if there's Bob out there that's having problems and he can't connect to do his job, how do you support that? You used to be able to just go up to his machine, help troubleshoot it, and work with him to kind of solve the problem. But now everyone is remote. So how do we do this with kind of little disruption as possible? How can we actually start doing this proactively to ensure that my users can be as productive as possible in this crazy situation? And again, this works for remote sessions as well. So if my users are on, physical devices and Citrix devices, VMware devices, WVD, physical, virtual, regardless, this works. So we're going to, I'm going to stop showing you slides now. We're actually going to go into the technology to kind of show you what we put together to help. So if you've got any questions, please put it in the GoToWebinar. Goodness, and we'll make sure we answer it. So I am going to pass it over to Charles now, and
excellent.
There we go.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Mike. I appreciate that. So, yeah, as Mike kind of said, this is we're all kind of trying to get our bearings, understand where we're at, how we're going to move forward, ensure productivity, and what we're hoping to do is offer you the tools to assist you with that. So, just to give you a little bit of context here before we dive right into it, this is for our existing customers. This is available as 2 kits that can be imported. So, these kits are going to present themselves as a collection of dashboards. This is our remote work performance monitoring kit main landing page. This is going to be centered around understanding, supporting, and ensuring the productivity of the users from a user experience and support kind of perspective. And then the very much complementary kit that goes along with it is our remote session productivity and analysis kit. So this is going to be very much centered around getting the insight into the virtualization. Virtualization is going to be a big part of supporting this initiative. And, we try to play nice with everybody. So we got a little something in here for the Citrix folk, the VMware folk, the Microsoft WBD folk. So we're going to tour. We're not going to look at all this today. I'm going to take you through some highlights between these 2 kits, and we'll just kind of see, what can be useful and kind of give you an idea what we're going through here. So let's start off with our asset management and location summary dashboard. So as we've thrown our workforce to the 4 corners of the land. This is where we can kind of come back. Let's take a picture of what that looks like now. Let's understand that. So we can kind of see the graphs here, maps rather. So we've kind of distributed our workforce primarily in the United States. We've got a few people over in Great Britain, England area here, but we can kind of zoom on that and understand that by country. So we can get a nice distribution by quantity of users per location here. So we kind of see where our workforce has ended up and landed. And as we scroll down here, we can get much more specific details around that. So we're going to be able to understand what machines are out there, who's in possession of those machines. What geographies are they now located in? We're going to understand the egress IP, all that good stuff. We're going to give you a quick highlight of activity here. It's kind of going to be important. Make sure our users are still able to get active, connected to the network. We can look at daily averages of that. And also from kind of an inventory standpoint. So what kind of devices? Did we send them home with devices? Or these laptops that they already had company issued? I'm sure it's not uncommon. There's probably going to be some people repurposing their home PCs for connectivity. But this is going to let us understand what they have and what they're working with. So let us really get a grip on the landscape that we've kind of created through pure chaos here, but put some order to it so we can really wrap our heads around it. So once we understand who's out there, what they're in possession of, where they're coming from, where they're going, probably one of the next most important questions is going to be, now that basically we've made our home networks part of our corporate network, we might want to understand some of the security of how these connections are being implemented, right? So this dashboard is going to help break out and understand a lot of our networking information that we collect in regards to, am I connecting to a wired connection? Am I on a wireless connection? Do I have sufficient Wi-Fi security enabled? And maybe I don't, and this could be a mix of factors. We might have people with home networks that just aren't very savvy. They don't have security enabled. It's just open hotspots. Or we might have, I'm sure people aren't moving around too much, but if you do make your way to a public access kind of unsecured Wi-Fi outside of the home, we're going to be able to recognize and understand that as well. So we can see here in the major chart, an overall breakout of who's connecting with security, who's not. If we want to click on any chunks of this graph, we're going to get some breakouts on that. So if we're interested in non-secure connections, we can see from those people who's using wired connections, who's on unsecured wireless, who's on secured wireless. And of course, you're mobile at this point, so it's going to be a mix match of things. You're going to be different places connecting different ways. So we really want to try and give you some insight into that and understand, where we might have some potential security vulnerabilities from that perspective. So moving on. So next, we kind of understand where everybody's gotten to. Now we understand how they're reconnecting to access the resources and things that they need. So now we might want to kind of understand some activity. So what are people doing? Are they active? Are they inactive? What kind of applications are we engaging with? So this dashboard is all centered around system activity and usage. This is going to help give us some insight into what the ratio of active to inactive time is over the enterprise, over any groups that we've created. And we can kind of scroll down and get some insight into what applications are being utilized the most. So we can understand the percent usage time, total focus time. So maybe it's running, but we're not in focus on the application. And this works at both a system-wide enterprise level, or we can drill into individual machines if we have further questions on that. So we can just search for any machines of interest. Excuse me, I think my VPN connection might have timed out. Let me just refresh this for us 1 second. So as we were, so we can see this across multiple machines, kind of aggregated statistics, or we can very much kind of focus in on an individual machine and understand the characteristics and behaviors of an individual user, individual machine. But primarily, this is going to help us identify, now that we're out there, what are we using? So what kind of applications are we engaging with? What kind of websites are we engaging with? What are the users that are associated with these machines that are actually behind the wheel driving all this? So this is really good insight to kind of understand those patterns and trends for actual activity once we're out there in the wild, right? So once we've kind of identified that activity, we've identified some critical applications, critical websites, active users, inactive users. We're very much going to want to understand applications with network awareness and dependencies. So that's where we're going to move into next here with our application latency service map. So this is a fantastic dashboard for understanding any network-aware application. Currently, see I've kind of searched for Outlook here, so we're looking at Outlook activity. What we have down in the graph here, so we have our main application, and then we're going to be able to break out clusters of users by geography. So what are the different egress points and subnets that are utilizing this application, kind of in the middle layer here. That's what we're seeing. And down below are going to be the servers that these applications are communicating with. And we're basically filtering this by latency measurements. So we want to identify the applications that are critical, what users are coming from where and utilizing those applications currently. And depending on many mitigating factors, the geography of the user, the locality to the server that they're speaking with, we want to identify anybody who might be having trouble with these applications from a latency connectivity perspective. So what we can easily do is just click on any of these locations. We're going to get a great summary information over here of specifically which servers are they talking to. So there's probably other servers as well, but we're not having latency issues with those. So we're going to identify purely just those latent servers, where they are, who they are, what of our users are speaking with them. And this is going to be great information, regardless of if they're calling home back into your own data center, or if you have some kind of hosted application provided through another vendor. So if you are experiencing problems with that, we're going to have the information that you can take back to those vendors instead of just a generic report of, I'm getting user complaints or it's having slowness. We're going to be able to come back with specifics for them. So now we can say this application, these users in these time frames, specifically to these servers. So, you guys got a load balance. I'm sure you got 100 servers back there. These are the ones we're experiencing problems with. And that's oftentimes giving them that bit of information to kind of start with is going to help you get results and get those things resolved when it is out of your hands. As we know, a lot of things are getting out of our hands these days. So it's important to have that information to take back to your counterparts and your vendors and just be able to help them get a foot ahead of things, right? So moving along, we're going to move into kind of what is the end user experience of my estate. So now we can start, we've kind of established what we have, we're identifying applications. Now let's kind of talk about maintaining and promoting a good user experience, and we want as little productivity loss as possible. So that's kind of where we're going to venture into now. So we can see here in this bar chart over time, this is day over day computing factors that are degrading the experience of my users. So we can kind of see, if you're not familiar with SysTrack, we monitor 13 key metrics in particular around end user experience and productivity loss, things that can just literally prevent the user from interacting with their machine and being able to accomplish what they're trying to do. So we can see that kind of trend day over day here, and this is maybe more interesting to some, less interesting to others, but I know in particular in our environment, we kind of started working from home right around March 16th here. So I can see a marked difference after that point in time and before that point in time. So as we can see moving forward here, we're having a lot more productivity impact, health degradation of the users, and it's because we're stressing our infrastructure in ways that we did not immediately respect to. So we have servers providing functionality and support for a much larger group of users than they used to have to. So, and we can see that reflected in the overall performance of the environment and the number of mitigating factors that are occurring. So if we scroll down here a little bit, we can kind of start to get insight on that. So, okay, I know a given day we had a lot of problems. What can I do with that? Well, if we just click on any given day in the chart up top, it's going to refresh our information in the table down below, so we can literally see each machine in the environment that was active on that day, what the experience looked like. So, for that given day, I can see this user had a 36.84% experience. So that's a 36% health score. That's pretty poor. So we're losing just under 70% of that user's active time is being negatively impacted by resource limitations and computing limitations. So we can kind of see how that varies in comparison to the day-over-day change, their monthly average as compared to the current day that we're looking at. So we can really identify what's impacting the user and all the different factors over here to the right that are causing that impact. So now let's help our users out. So we can't, as Mike stated, we can't just walk up to the desk anymore, but we can use SysTrack to kind of help root cause analysis and troubleshooting for these remote users. So I'm going to dig into this guy. I can see that he's online. We're going to form a connection to him through the SysTrack tools. So what I've done is just directly connected to this user's machine. They have no knowledge of this. It doesn't impact their usage at all. We're just making a SysTrack connection to our agent on those machines, and we're going to be able to get some really good information about what's going on in that machine, what's causing potential issues. So what we're looking at here is our overview page, and this is just a great first stop for any kind of analysis on an individual machine. This is going to give you a readout of our sensors. So sensors are kind of our new technology element in SysTrack 9.0. They take advantage of our data by putting some smarts behind it. So we've always had alarms and thresholds for alerting and monitoring. The sensors are a bit of an evolution of that. So the sensors can use more complex logic to kind of analyze the data and the occurrences of events on the machine, provide us notifications and alerts that those things are occurring, but then taking it to the next step, it's going to be able to give us some remediation steps or possible directions of investigation we can take. So we can see for this particular machine, we're having CPU impacts. And if we click on any of these, we can kind of understand why we're having CPU impacts. So we had major CPU issues. If we click on that sensor element over on the right, we're going to try and give you some details about that. So it looks like perpetually, day over day almost, on this machine, this user is having hundreds of minutes of productivity impact due to CPU limitations, right? So we're going to be able to understand that, the time frames that it happens on, and we're going to be able to get a look at that with these tools. SysTrack is a bit of a time machine. We can go back up to 3 years of activity on the machine and understand exactly what was going on, who was using it, what was the resource load, what kind of applications were running. We can give you all that detailed insight here. So if we want to kind of take it down to the next logical step, we were looking at health over the organization. So now I'm looking at health on this one particular machine. So I can kind of see, not too bad leading up for most of the first half of the last 30 days. And then we're kind of getting some high impacts on health here. As we saw on the overview page, we had some alerts notifying us of heavy CPU load, CPU overconsumption. And we can see here in the health view that, clearly CPU is the main impacting factor. Next up is disk, but it doesn't even get close to the amount of impact this user is suffering from CPU. So we kind of want to understand that, see what we can do to remediate it in some fashion. But for instance, we can see that on the 26th here, we had 12 hours of CPU impact. So maybe I kind of want to understand what the usage patterns were. So we can flip down into one of our other tools within the resolve set, get some system usage information for that. So we can see on the 26th, this user seemed pretty active. We had 5 hours of Teams interactivity, 2 hours of Outlook time, 3 hours of Excel. So we can kind of understand, maybe the user had a new application they've introduced in the environment, stressing the CPU more than it would typically be stressed otherwise. But we're going to be able to understand those usage patterns and also kind of website activity as well down below that. But we're really just about correlating the data for you. So identifying things that might be potential concerns, things that need investigating, and then providing the supporting data to help understand that, right? So let's take a step back here. I just want to illustrate a little bit more for any of my kind of technical people in the house. We can do this drill down in different ways. So you notice we have blue dots across all these columns here. So I had previously just clicked on the system name to make a resolve connection. But if I was, for instance, interested in particular in the CPU impact, I can double click directly on that CPU numeric value here. It is, again, still going to take me into the resolve tool, but now it knows I'm investigating CPU. So for the day I was looking at, from the 25th to the 26th, we've kind of isolated that time window, and we've automatically graphed some relevant metrics around CPU consumption. So we can see for a great portion of this time period, the percent CPU consumption was just right through the roof, but also the processor queue length was right through the roof. So that's going to be indicative of different kind of applications and threading scenarios, but it's going to give us that starting point. We can kind of see down here, these are the applications that are running at that point in time, the kind of CPU and resources they're consuming. So we really want to be able to connect the dots for you and get you back that power to help enable your users, help do that troubleshooting when, as we said, when you can't just kind of walk up next to somebody's desk and take a peek over their shoulder. So I think that'll be really good for a lot of technical scenarios here. So kind of moving along from that area, we do have a work from home performance impact dashboard. So full disclosure, this is probably going to be more useful for people that already had a SysTrack installation going. But the idea behind this dashboard is we're going to be able to identify the work from home date. So within this dashboard, we can use our date picker. We can come in here, identify when we engaged in the work from home kind of process here. So we'll set that as our 0-day point. And now all the metrics on this dashboard, they're going to be a pre and post kind of snapshot of what does it look like before and after that 0 day of when we engaged in work from home. So we can kind of map all the different relevant metrics over here. If we just kind of click on anything, we can see that here in the office column and then versus the work from home column, we have had a degradation of overall health score user experience since we have transitioned to work from home. It looks like we've had increased CPU loads overall, increased memory usage. So it looks like we're pushing our machines a little bit harder, and we're asking more of them than we typically used to. So this will just really help you for those customers that already have the platform. Really help you get a before and after kind of picture. So open this track. We've mostly been working through the first kit we introduced. This is remote work performance monitoring and enablement. So we're helping the users out, trying to make sure we understand what they need. Are we giving them what they need? How can we make the experience better? But let's kind of move over into the session productivity. So this is kind of our landing page here for the remote session productivity. And this is very much centered around that virtualization angle. So again, it's going to be a very important piece of the pie that we're putting together with the remote work enablement and just making this work. So this is where we're going to be able to get great insight into whatever platform or platforms that you might be using. So Citrix, VMware, RDP, Microsoft RDSH, WPD. We've got something in here for everybody, all the major remoting protocols, and this is going to give you insight into those sessions and protocols. So you can really understand frame rates, if there's any particular overload on any channels within the remoting protocol. RemoteFX has some great kind of built-in heuristics in it. RemoteFX actually provides some counters that if there is a degradation in the delivery of the RemoteFX experience, it's got a few flags that it can enable to tell you if this is most likely a problem on a client side, a session host side, or maybe it's just general degraded network. But we're going to reveal that and a lot more within these dashboards. So we don't really have a sampling of everything from all the different protocol hosts to show you live in here, but I just want to point this out. This is the second kit that I kind of showed you guys when we first got into this demonstration here, and this is the place you want to be to kind of get those insights into your remoting protocols. We do have a bunch of other kits that are specific. We're not going to get into that today, but if you did want to get more heavy into the Citrix side of things, we do offer a Citrix Workspace Analytics kit. On the VMware side of things, we have a very robust Horizon Analytics kit that can also be downloaded. So this should be great to get you going, and if you want to dive deeper, we do have tools and resources available for more vendor-specific kind of things. So that's kind of a quick walkthrough in a nutshell here. Any questions, feel free to kind of put them through into the chat here. Mike's going to talk to you a little bit more about the specifics of how you kind of engage with this and get this initiative going. But I will pass it on back to Mike here and let you take it away, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, looking good.
Okay. Well, there's not much to discuss here, really. I mean, it is very simple to get set up. So, for instance, there is kind of two different ways to do this. We have, as an existing customer, Gotham and ourselves will help you just get the updated kit installed in your environment. It is probably 5 minutes worth of your time. and then you can pretty much instantaneously get all the relevant dashboards and views that Charles was showing you, and more. Again, we just did the kind of the main kind of walkthroughs. Now, if you're new to SysTrack, this is again a very simple start. So after this, Gotham will be sending out a dedicated link. So all you do is you need just to authenticate with Active Directory. You need to sign in, and then it will spin up a tenant for you, a dedicated secure tenant specifically for you. And it will provide you an agent that will be, again, dedicated to that tenant that you would just deploy out to the endpoints that you're looking to, put it on the servers, put it on the endpoints, and pretty much, right away, you can start viewing the data. After a few days, once we have time to kind of correlate a lot of that data, you pretty much see exactly what kind of Charles was showing you just now. So that is it. So after the call, we will send out a couple of action items. Whoever's interested in knowing more. Do we have any questions? We did have one question coming in earlier on regarding if we can use this solution for checking to see if employees are actually working. But I think we covered that during Charles's presentation. The answer is yes, of course, we can. We like to use that data just to make sure they are having the relevant resources available to be productive, but you can obviously use that data just to make sure that, how much time they're spending in, relevant business applications. We have another question. Does the agent need admin access to install? Very good question.
So it will. You'll need traditional administrator rights. It's an MSI package, so whatever traditional kind of authority you would need to install a piece of software. Same goes for us. To take it a little further, once the agent is installed, it runs under a system context. That's how it gathers all the data that we gather. It does not, however, have any kernel level access or any drivers. It doesn't do any unstructured data scraping. It's not looking inside your files or anything. We do gather a lot of data, but we kind of try to draw the big brother line somewhere for what it's worth.
Great. And then the follow-on question from that, it would be kind of how difficult would it be to deploy to endpoints that are already kind of remote?
Oh, yes, I see that now. So you will have some bit of connectivity will be necessary to reach out to the machines and install the software. So, in a worst case scenario, you have to have absolutely no access and your end users do not have any local administrative rights and you can't get to them. We could see that posing a problem, but hopefully if there's some type of VPN remoting, SCCM distribution capability is kind of where we push you in that direction to kind of get over that hump.
And they can just run the executable. And again, the agent's an extremely lightweight agent. It takes less than 1% of the CPU. And again, as Charles mentioned before, but I think it's worth restating that it's not a kernel level agent, so it's not going to cause any kind of blue screens or anything like that. It would just be there to gather data and report up. But great questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So what we wanted to do, and thank you, Gotham, for the opportunity, was we've been putting together, as Charles showed you, a number of different views that can be utilized to help you support and gain visibility into your remote workers. If they're coming in via endpoint devices or they're connecting via remote session, we can help at least provide visibility and help you troubleshoot and support those users as well. So feel free. I know we took you through a number of different views. So if there's any additional questions that come up, please feel free to reach out to your Gotham representative or us directly, and we will make sure you get the support you need to help in this crazy time.
Great. Thank you, Michael and Charles. And as Michael mentioned earlier, we'll be sending out an email to everyone that attended the webinar today with more information on how to get started with SysTrack for your remote user workforce. Right, but thanks everyone for joining. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe.